Kirby, 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 Kirby.
Welcome back to Toy Planet News. I am Kirby, and this is Babydolly. We have a fascinating show that delves deep into the fourth wall. Today we are going to be interviewing the ones who create and tell these stories. For a while now in this universe, things have been run by narrators, the characters' personalities heavily being influenced by their narrators. We want to give you this chance to learn about some of these storytellers firsthand. One is even from a different universe entirely. Without further ado, let's give it up for our narrators, Kirby Babydolly, Rosie, KingFartington and Rainstorm. Woo! Yeah! Let's go! Alright, it is really nice to have you here. First question, what made you want to start storytelling?
What made me want to start storytelling was Star Wars. I watched Star Wars when I was a little kid, and ever since kindergarten I've wanted to go on these fantastic adventures. So I started role-playing Star Wars to go on those fantastic adventures. And just upgraded from there, adding more and more elements that I liked throughout the ages. Like adding in Undertale and Minecraft and Minecraft YouTubers.
What made me start storytelling? I probably started storytelling because of my sister. I only got into storytelling because of her efforts to pull me into the stories that she made. And I guess I'm here where I am today because of her.
Fartington says, I started storytelling as a way just to keep me occupied.
And here's what Rainstorm said.
I think it started with an overnight stay with friends. A little later, during a break from school, we started to create our own characters. And the first character I created was Bone Crusher. Everyone took an animal and one superpower. I took magnetic power mixed with electrical power. Two of my friends took phoenix lions, and my other friend took a radioactive spider. And that break game started it. I wanted to play it all the time. And when I heard about Undertale, it boosted everything with the multiverses or alternate universes. The same goes for Lich Tale and other stuff.
What is your preferred ways of storytelling?
My preferred way of storytelling is through role-playing, but I also like to write down notes for future role-plays and just story stuff and when I'm going to bed and whatnot.
I like to tell stories through role-playing and gotcha stories.
Fartington says, the way I like to tell my stories are mostly through the lore and then the details.
Rainstorm replies, role-playing, but sometimes when we have to write an essay, then I write stories. My teacher even bought me an empty book to write stories in it. He is fascinated by my stories. How do you define the personalities and run them in your stories?
I usually just define the personalities just by my own personality. Nothing else really, just my own personal experiences.
I create character personalities through just looking at their designs and seeing what personalities would fit with their kind of design. If I do have a set personality for a character already, when I'm making their design, I make sure that their design matches their personality.
Fartington states, I define most of my personalities in the character's past or future actions. I don't like just telling how they are. Instead, I have to have their actions reflect it.
Sometimes I think about one or two characters and their personalities all day, or even months, till I think, yeah, now he or she is perfect. And sometimes I still think about their personalities after they're in the story.
Who are your favorite characters to storytell from the past and the future?
My favorite characters to run from the past and the future. Well, Drew is my current favorite, along with Drew's kids. They are the most developed of all my characters, and I really love running them. I used to really love running Alter too. Alter was an old character of mine, but he used to be really fun, along with Alter Blaze. Alter Blaze had a fun personality that clashed really well with everything else. It's just fun.
My favorite character to roleplay nowadays is my character Casey. I originally didn't have a plan with her. I just kind of went on the fly and just made a backstory for her, just completely randomly, and I just liked the backstory, so yeah, she's my favorite. In the past, it's probably my character Shu, but nowadays she's not very interesting, and she's just kind of she's kind of like a flat character.
Fartington says, I really love to work with my two kings of the Golden Empire, Max and Jack Harrington. Here's what Rainstorm says. One of my favorite characters is Rainstorm. Who would have thought of that? He is one of my favorite characters because he is my main character. Then there's Bone Crusher. He's also one of my favorites because he's the first character I created for storytelling.
How do you feel about narrators dropping in and out from the roleplay?
I have struggled with this immensely. I started the adventure game in kindergarten, with you two being some of my first characters in it, so it's been a very long time, and clearly there's been people who have dropped out of the adventure game. Some of those people I have a very close bond with. It always hurts when they do move on, and oftentimes their characters just dumped on me, and I feel like I cannot ever capture the essence of those characters. When you have roleplayed as long as I have, the narrator's personality seeps into their characters in one way or another. I grow to love these characters, and then their story just abruptly ends. The character's tossed aside and I'm left with the leftovers. I'll admit, my ways of coping with this have not been the greatest story-wise and in real life, and I've made a lot of mistakes in handling it. When this happens, it's just a very delicate area.
It really sucks when a narrator drops out of the story because you kind of need that person in order to continue this story and you don't have them anymore, so it's really bad and ends some stories that should have been longer and had more fleshing out to do, but just abruptly ended, and it's awful.
Fartington and Rainstorm had nothing to say on this topic.
Have you ever had to deal with any bad role players?
Definitely. Some have had stupidly overpowered characters that made mine useless in comparison. Some have had emotionally unstable characters that were impossible to help and made everyone around them feel useless. Some were just plain annoying, and some got in the way of really interesting things.
I have encountered some bad role players where their characters are literally flat and only have one personality, and they aren't dimensional at all. They don't have any backstory. They just do whatever they do because they feel like it, and that's not good character.
Fartington states, I definitely have. I used to myself not be so great at it, but through practice with trial and error, I was able to adapt them better. Rainstorm says, Hypixel housing role players are sometimes weird. I've had good, rude, and weird experiences.
What are some of your story mishaps?
So I've had a lot of story mishaps, mostly at my hands. Because a lot of times when I'm trying to do my development and character relationship stuff, things just often fall flat in that area. And some people just want more action, and it just, things end up getting really boring or out of control, and it just sucks when that happens.
Some story mishaps I've had. I have mistaken a relationship between two characters. I thought they were romantically involved when they were thinking each other as siblings. That was awkward. And I've mistaken characters' genders quite a few times.
Fartington states, I'd say some lore around Kyloth was iffy and not as well thought out of as I first thought, alongside how many characters I have tried to introduce at once. Fartington has nothing to say on this topic. He hasn't really had any mishaps as far as he's concerned.
Anything you want to say as we end this documentary?
Role-playing can be quite a roller coaster. I can say in confidence that some of the funnest parts of my life were while role-playing with others. When two people come together and make a story that's truly engaging, it's just so much fun. Even if it's just me engaging with super interesting characters, story, and lore, it makes me happy. That's why role-playing means so much to me. Even though things can go horribly wrong, that sense of adventure was something I had always wanted. So I say, give storytelling a shot. Doesn't matter the medium or the frame, just have fun with it. Create something that you can be happy with.
Something to say at the end of the documentary. Well, I would personally say that make your own story as well as you can and do whatever you like and not what somebody else asks you to do. Make it your own and don't let anybody else push you around. It's your story, not theirs, and don't let anybody change your mind.
Here's Fartington's final statement. Only thing I can think of to say is, while I don't roleplay as much as I have in the past, I do encourage people to try and be as creative as one is able to. Make a world and build lore, even if it's just a little pastime for ya.
All Rainstorm has to say is that role-playing with Kirby Babydolly has been awesome.
That wasn't enough second. She's on the ground laughing, her head up like normal. This is normal. This is normal. This is very normal. Outtakes.